What's up, guys? This is Mr. Eldridge, and in today's lesson, we're going to look at the Constitutional Convention of 1787. So last class, we talked about the Articles of Confederation, and specifically the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. So just to review, one of the primary issues was the lack of a strong central authority, resulting in a weak federal government, unable to enforce laws and decisions to the states. The weaknesses extended to the inability to collect taxes directly from the states, leading to financial instability and an inability to pay off debts on adequately funded national projects. Moreover, the absence of a national judiciary meant that there was no mechanism to resolve disputes between states or interpret laws consistently. The unicameral legislature had limited powers, and unanimous consent among the states was required to amend the articles, making it difficult for anything to get happen or to address any type of urgent issues. These weaknesses created a decentralized system where states acted in their own self-interests, leading to economic rivalries, trade barriers, and difficulties in maintaining national unity. As a result, the shortcomings of the Articles of Confederation ultimately led to the creation of the United States Constitution. One major event that helped precipitate to this was Shays Rebellion. Shays Rebellion was an armed uprising that occurred in Massachusetts from 1786 to 1787, led by Daniel Shays. Shays was a Revolutionary War veteran. The rebellion was fueled by economic hardship and grievances against the state government's harsh taxation policies and debt collection practices. Impoverished farmers and rural citizens rose up in protest, specifically demanding debt relief and a more equitable distribution of economic resources. The rebellion highlighted the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation in dealing with internal unrest and specifically interstate disputes, specifically between Massachusetts and New Hampshire, Vermont area of who would have control stopping this rebellion. It was significant as it served as a wake-up call for many political leaders who recognized the urgent need for a stronger centralized government. The rebellion underscored specifically the importance of revising the Articles of Confederation and led to a growing consensus for the Constitutional Convention that would come up in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787. Ultimately, the unrest and disarray caused Shays Rebellion to contributing to the successful movement towards a more powerful federal government, eventually writing the Constitution, which provided the nation with a more effective and stable framework for governance. The primary goal of the Philadelphia Convention, also known as the Constitutional Convention, was to address the weaknesses of the Articles and create a new framework for how the government was going to run. They convened in Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The delegates sought to establish a stronger centralized government, initially going to fix the Articles, but led specifically to the creation of the Constitution. The intention was to strike a balance between granting the federal government enough power to function effectively, particularly in areas such as regulating interstate commerce because of what happened with Shays Rebellion, collecting taxes, providing for the common defense, while also preserving individual state sovereignty and protecting citizens' rights. The outcome of the convention was the drafting of the Constitution, which laid the foundation for the country's modern system of government and remains the supreme law of the land of the United States. So the Constitutional Convention in 1787 brought together prominent leaders and influential figures across the young United States. Among the key leaders that were at Philadelphia, George Washington was the convention's president, whose military leadership during the American Revolution and his reputation as a statesman provided as a crucial legitimacy to the proceedings. James Madison, of course, the father of the United States Constitution, played a pivotal role in shaping the convention's debates and was instrumental in drafting the Constitution's framework. Benjamin Franklin was there for his wisdom and experience and offered valuable insights and helped bridge the gaps between the different factions. It should also be noted that Franklin was up in age at this point. He was very sick. He had gout. And so there were some days that he would struggle to be there. Alexander Hamilton, though he later withdrew, did not sign the final document, actively contributed to the convention's debates. Additionally, other notable attendees included Governor Morris, Edmund Randolph, Roger Sherman, and many others. The collective wisdom and collaborative efforts of these leaders and delegates resulted in, of course, the creation of the United States Constitution, which was considered a monumental achievement in laying the groundwork for the nation's enduring democratic principles and system, specifically of government. The Virginia Plan was drafted by James Madison, which favored a strong central government with a bicameral legislature. Representation in both houses of Congress would be based specifically on the state's population, giving larger states more influence. It also granted the federal government the power to levy taxes and regulate commerce. Now, in contrast, you're going to have the New Jersey Plan. This was put forth by William Patterson. It aimed to preserve the framework of the Articles of Confederation with a unicameral legislature. Each state would have equal representation, regardless of size or population, and the federal government would gain some additional powers, but not to the extent that the Virginia Plan is going to be proposed. Ultimately, during the summer of 1787, through negotiations between the two sides, you have what's called the Great Compromise. This is also called the Connecticut Compromise. This established a bicameral legislature with proportional representation in the House of Representatives and equal representation in the Senate. This was able to strike a balance between the interests of the larger governments and the smaller states, becoming a foundational element of the Constitution, and specifically checks and balances, separation of powers. The Constitutional Convention of 1787 witnessed several crucial compromises that shaped the foundation of the United States. One of the major compromises was the 3/5 Compromise. This dealt with the contentious issue of counting enslaved individuals as a part of representation and taxation purposes. It was agreed that for every 5 enslaved persons, 3 would be counted, striking a compromise between southern states. It should be noted that without southern states agreeing, then you don't have a ratification of the United States Constitution, and southern states are not going to vote against their own self-interests. Though these compromises were products of intense debates and negotiations, they ultimately contributed to the successful ratification of the Constitution and played a pivotal role in forming a more perfect union that endures to this day. Apportionment is the process of dividing the 435 memberships or seats in the United States House of Representatives among the 50 states. At the conclusion of each census, which of course is every 10 years, the results are used to calculate the number of House memberships to which each state is entitled. In the United States, federal laws are established as the supreme law of the land, as stated in the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution. This means that when there is a conflict between federal and state law, the federal law prevails, and state laws that contradict it are considered invalid. However, the division of powers between the federal government and the states allow for a system of dual sovereignty. States retain significant authority to enact laws and govern their internal affairs, provided that these laws do not directly conflict with federal statutes. The principle of federalism ensures that states can address specific issues and implement policies that best suit their individual needs and circumstances, while also upholding the overarching authority of the federal law in matters that extend beyond state borders. It strikes a delicate balance between national unity and diversity, fostering cooperation and the potential for experimentation among the states within the framework of the broader federal system. The founding fathers of the United States designed a system of government with a sophisticated network of checks and balances. This was to prevent the concentration of power and safeguard against potential abuses. The three branches of government, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches, each possess specific powers and act as a check on the others. For instance, Congress, of course the legislative branch, can pass laws, but the president, as the head of the executive branch, can veto these laws. Congress can override a presidential veto with a 2/3 majority vote. The judiciary, represented by the federal courts, has the authority to interpret laws and the Constitution, thereby ensuring that the other branches' actions are within the bounds of the Constitution. Additionally, the president appoints federal judges, but those appointments require confirmation by the United States Senate, ensuring a degree of legislative oversight. This intricate system of checks and balances fosters cooperation, compromise, and accountability among the branches, promoting the stability and longevity of the American democracy. Thank you so much for paying attention to this video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that now. Thanks so much. Have a great day.